Ian Pannell, BBC News, Kabul.
Well, let's talk about President Obama's new strategy for Afghanistan with Masood Aziz, who's a former diplomat at the Afghan embassy in Washington, now executive director of the think tank, the Afghanistan Policy Council. Thank you very much indeed for being with us.
Sure.
We were just hearing there, actually, the defiance from the Taliban. Do you think that by setting this date for the start of withdrawal for American troops, July 2011, in a sense President Obama has played into the Taliban's hands?
Well, first of all, I thought that President Obama showed considerable leadership in tackling this extremely complex issue, probably the most complex U.S. engagement since World War II, without any doubt. He reminded us that U.S. national security was at stake in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and he talked directly to the Afghan people by saying that the U.S. is not there to occupy the land. By doing that, he talked to the entire region that the U.S. is not there to just occupy the place. And he also mentioned two other things. One, an exit strategy, like you had mentioned, and that the military solution is not the ultimate solution in the region, and that success in Afghanistan is actually directly linked to Pakistan and a partnership to Pakistan. But on both of those last counts, I thought the president came short. After weeks of reviewing the strategy, after speaking to everybody and publicly in somewhat, he was short in detail on how to achieve those goals, rather than just mentioning it. And I thought I overheard his cabinet members, Secretary Clinton, Admiral Mullen, and Robert Gates, talk about those things, but there was no detail. So if we are having an exit strategy in Afghanistan, the president is speaking to the domestic for the long term in the region. Otherwise, there will be parties, including the Taliban, that will prepare themselves on how to deal with that issue. I thought all that was not explained, was not detailed yet, and I'm hoping that I will see more of that detail.
But in giving the start of that timetable, doesn't it send a message to the Taliban that, in a sense, all they have to do is be patient and wait out the American troop presence, because
that's right.
The Americans are going to pull out?
That's not obviously the intent. The president said that there would be a beginning on an exit strategy to pull the troops out, but at the same time the U.S. will be engaged. In saying that, that's the correct way of putting it, but he needs to explain how that would happen. So what was missing was what? It was what the president needs to explain. And I am absolutely convinced that that he's capable of explaining these extremely complex notions. But he needs to say that a massive civilian surge, an economic assistance surge, and work on governance needs to happen at the same time to prepare this region where the troops are going to pull out. That I did not see. We need to see the details of that. In fact, there is no equivalent civilian strategy to General McChrystal's counterinsurgency military strategy on the table. Where is that plan? We need to speak about it now, and we have spent enough time discussing it. We need to have that plan in place, and we need to move forward. And the other thing that was missing was the issue of Pakistan. Why are the Taliban back after we ousted them? The reason is because the leadership of the Afghan Taliban, the leadership of the Pakistani Taliban, and Al-Qaeda are all in Pakistan. They're not there because they like the landscape. They're there because they're institutionally supported. So the president and his cabinet now and his staff need to explain how to convince the Pakistani army, because they have a stake in supporting some of these extremists, how to convince them to stop doing that. Without that change in that dynamic, we will never stabilize that region.
Okay, Masood Aziz, very good to have you.